What's good, guys? As I'm working on the chapter summaries of Volume 4, I might as well give you guys my thoughts and a little bit of a review on this volume. And since I'm talking about Volume 4, there will be spoilers ahead. I have some good things and a few minor critiques, but the story is still ongoing, so I won't judge too hard, as some of my unanswered questions could be answered in the future. So the story of Volume 4 continues after the events of Volume 3, as Lena is catching up with Shin and the Spirit Squadron. As well as her and Annette adjusting to their new environment, we get the introduction of the 86 Strike package and a bunch of new characters with Shiden, Dustin, Rito, and a few others. I love the interactions with Shin and Shiden, as I feel her sole reason for existing is just to piss him off. There's also more conflicts with the civilians of San Magnolia, as they still show discrimination towards the 86s with the introduction of the Bleachers. They're not important to the plot at this point, so I'm not going to talk about them too much. And we get to the most exciting part of the volume, the operation to retake the northern capital of San Magnolia, with more mysteries surrounding the Legion. Press F to pay respects for the failing squadron. This volume gives much needed development for Annette, as she gets some closure with her conflicts with Shin when she was a kid, which she held onto for a long ass time, while still giving enough time for Shin and Lena to get closer with one another. And I love how these two always facilitate each other's character development, but they still have a long way to go for the romance side of things, as they both suffer from DPT, the dense protagonist trope. But I don't expect the romance to happen right away, so I'm glad Asado is taking her time with their relationship. Let's start at chapter 1, as this is a whole chapter dedicated to Shin and Lena. As Lena is catching up with Shin, Lena still puts up the facade known as Bloody Regina, or the Bloodstained Queen, as she feels as if she's alone in the Republic. And we all know that she lost her family as her mother and uncle died during a large-scale offense, and she feels she has no right to vent any of her struggles with Shin because her people were his oppressors. But Shin, being the best boyfriend he can be, sees through this, as Lena constantly has a tragic face, as he puts it, and in a more intimate moment, Shin reassures her and helps her realize that even though she lost her mother and uncle, she still has people like him by her side, and tells her she can let go of the sins of the Republic, as none of it was her fault, and she can stop putting up the facade that is Bloody Regina. Which Shin loves Lena, but he hates Bloody Regina. It's also better that Shin tells her this, as he's been oppressed by the Republic for years and is pretty much given a death sentence from them, which helps strengthens the meaning behind his words, especially when he says that she's not alone and she has Raiden and the others by her side, which allows Lena to become more vulnerable with him, as Bloody Regina can finally take a break. It was a wholesome moment and was one of my favorite parts of this volume. Another part I found fascinating was what Frederica said in Volume 2 was brought up again, that 3 things make the man: the homeland he was born into, the blood running through his veins, and the bonds he forms. For Lena, she's extremely attached to her homeland, as she believes it's part of her identity as a person, so she ain't letting go of the Republic's actions even if Shin tells her to let it go, and she constantly makes sure we know this by mentioning that she's a Republic citizen multiple times throughout the volume. I get her being a Republic citizen is important to her identity, but I really hate it whenever she says that. The first time I was okay with, but after the 5th or 6th time, it's starting to get a little old. As for Shin, it's almost like he's on the opposite journey of Lena, as the place he comes from, or the blood running through his veins, doesn't matter to him, as we find out that Shin's grandfather is still around and is eager to meet him, but Shin doesn't want to meet him.
He may have been your
grandfather,
boy, but he wasn't your daddy.
This volume does plant seeds of foreshadowing that Shin maybe one day will learn the value of what Frederica said, but eventually he'll find a good reason for meeting his grandfather. If you ever played Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn, it reminds me of when Rolf was asked to meet his biological mother after never knowing who she was his entire life, and he was given an opportunity to meet her, as he chose not to meet her, as she was pretty much just a stranger to him. It's similar to that, but for Shin, it would only remind him of what he lost because of the war, which would only bring him pain. Just like his relationship with Annette, as Shin, with his selective memory, also doesn't want to remember Annette for similar reasons. Which I'm glad Annette gets more screen time in this volume, as they heavily foreshadow Shin saving her in the subway operation, and Shin may not have admitted it back then, but we all know that he still has that muscle memory of finding Annette somewhere in his subconsciousness. He just has a hard time opening up about it, just like with his feelings and emotions, which is explored more in the future volumes, as he doesn't really fully understand them yet. As for the subway terminal operation, it's pretty much just a standard
make the plan, execute the plan, expect the plan to go off the rails, throw away the plan,
with a sprinkle of Shin nearly dying again, but this time, Shin isn't ready to die, as he has a reason to live, and there's people waiting for him to come back to, and it would bring great sadness to Lena if he would die, and he doesn't want to leave her behind, as he would put it. And it would make me sad too if Shin dies, with all his character development he's gotten. Like, I really hope that Shin gets a happy ending at the end of the series. Like, I don't care if he has infinite plot armor to do it, I just want to see my man happy and rewarded for everything he's been through. And for him not to have a happy ending would be like taking all this growth and throwing it out the window. But I digress. Back to the mission. I love the resolve Lena showed when she ordered everyone to abandon her best friend Annette for the better of the mission. She really has shown that she has grown a lot over the past year, and the mission also does a really good job setting up the future volumes and creating more storylines as we unveil more mysteries surrounding the Legion with the Phonix or the Funix. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, so I'm just gonna call it the Funix because it's a very fun Legion. But the Funix, along with the mysterious Legion that told Shin to come find her, they both seem to be important figures for the future of the series, which seems like the main job of this volume is to set up future storylines. But that's not a bad thing as it was still enjoyable to read. But let's wrap this up. Overall, my thoughts on Volume 4, it's a more lighter volume than a darker tone of Volume 3. It takes what's been set up, and in my opinion, improves upon it. It gives much needed development for certain side characters. There's a few critiques, but nothing too major though that would ruin the experience. I give this a certified mystified grade of 86%. I know it's kinda cliche, but trust me, the other volumes ahead of Volume 4 are getting a higher grade. But Volume 4 was really enjoyable. It does a lot of setting up for the future volumes, which is not a bad thing as the next two volumes make up my favorite arc of 86 so far. And the story is far from over at this point in the light novel, and I can't wait to see how the story ends. So that wraps up this video. Also, I'm still working on the summary of the final chapter of Volume 4, so don't worry guys, I'm still making those videos just for fun though. But like in real life, I'm going to have to delay it for production purposes. I never realized how time consuming editing and making fight scenes are, so it should be coming out sometime at the end of the month if I'm not procrastinating. I'll probably also make videos on the side stories as well. But with that being said, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe if you want more 86 content from me, as with great support comes greater content, as I'll keep trying to improve the quality, because that's what we should all strive for every day, is to improve, even if it's just a little bit or something little small. That's something we should all be proud of. With that being said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.